Hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. This is Susan, your hostess. I have been putting my fresh tomatoes into the freezer in gallon containers, and we're going to take some of them today and we're going to make some tomato sauce. So this is hashtag freezer cleanout 24, hashtag home canning 24, and I hope that y'all will stick around until the end. It's day one. Okay, so I have taken the tomatoes out. I'm going to put them in my pot, and we're going to get them a little defrosted, then the skin should slide right off. I've been doing some already, and I'm going to reuse these bags for tomatoes. I've got a few of my either pink or purple heirloom tomatoes in with this, so this is going to be a sauce and not just a tomato paste. These are Roma tomatoes. The main part of this is Roma tomatoes. Because the cost of tomatoes in the store has gotten so high, we decided we wanted a lot of tomato plants this year. We're not going to be buying many boxes of tomatoes from the Amish this year. I want a thick sauce, and I want a thick sauce and a thick paste. So these are going to be perfect. Most of these weigh about 8 ounces a piece. And I'm saving the skin. That's going to go into the dehydrator, and that makes tomato powder. And then I have some bad spots and stuff in here, or bad tomatoes that I come across. That's going to be fed back to the chickens. So we're working to get as many of these tomatoes ready to be processed. Now, I may not be able to do it all today. That's okay. If I don't get it done today, I can start them early in the morning and put my tomatoes in the refrigerator overnight. That will be just fine. So these need to defrost a little bit, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I'm doing. I've changed my water out a few times just to get the cold water off of them so that they will start to defrost. This one has defrosted. It does have a bad spot here at the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. Make sure it's not all the way through the tomato. And the skin, y'all, just falls off. This does have a few little blemishes on it, so I'm just going to cut them off and put it in my bowl. So I'm going to be working through these. Sometimes if you just do a little score, it'll help get the skin started. This one's still frozen, so it's got a little ways to go. But there it goes. Skin's off. I can cut that little bit of a stem out of the end. Okay, I'm going to follow the directions that is in my Ball Complete book of home canning, and then I'm going to allow this to cool. So it's got to come to a boil for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to put it through a hand mill sieve to try to remove the seeds. If it isn't successful, I'll leave the seeds in. It really doesn't bother us, but most sauce does not have the seeds in there. I did run it through the Ninja to kind of break the tomatoes up, and that will help the process along. Once I have all my tomatoes processed, I'm going to allow them to sit overnight in the refrigerator and then start the process in the morning with a clean kitchen. So you'll see the second part of this in this video as I go through this 2-day process. I had a little over 24 pounds of tomatoes total after they were peeled, so we're going to go with that weight and see how many pints we can get out of this. I pulled out the antique Foley food mill and juiced my tomatoes, and you're going to see what I'm doing with them next. Okay, I've juiced all of the 24 pounds of tomatoes, and I've gotten about 2 gallons of juice. This is going into the refrigerator overnight. Day 2. Well, y'all, it's day 2, and we're getting ready to can our tomato juice and turn it into tomato sauce. I juiced 24 pounds of tomatoes yesterday. It was an all-day event. I knew it was going to be a long day. So the recipe is found in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving on page 362 and 363. It's the basic tomato sauce. So I have my jars and my canners, sterilizing them, getting them ready because we're going to water bath them. And I'm going to be using citric acid, or you can use lemon juice for your citric acid. Salt is optional. Dried herbs are optional. I'm just going for a basic sauce because I can use it in anything. They have a lot of great tips in this, so you need to grab you one of these books and check it out. It is the canning book Bible, in my opinion. So we're going to process these pints for 35 minutes. If you were doing quarts, it would be 40 minutes. 1.5 liter jars you would do for 50 minutes. You want to wait for 5 minutes before you remove the jars from the canner, and then you want to let your jars cool for 12 to 24 hours. Wash your jars, check your seals, and then get them stored into your pantry after you've labeled them. So I'm going to be using the one-piece canning lid. This lid here. Now this one doesn't have the little popper in the middle. These are what the Amish use, so I know that they're safe. They've been using these for years and years and years. I do believe that you can order these from Arkansas Glass Company. I think that's where they get these from. And this is what an Arkansas glass jar looks like. And it's got the state of Arkansas on the bottom of your jar. These are a whole lot cheaper than the ones that you buy in the store. Saves you a lot of money. These were actually 18 cents a piece. So that's a really good deal to me, and I know that they seal. I don't have to worry about getting that little flat, this little thing. I don't have to worry about it getting centered on the jar and tightening down the band on it too tight and all that other mess. So we're going to get in here and get this started. I hope that you've enjoyed this so far. Stick around to the end so you can see the finished product. I've got approximately 2 gallons of juice that I have refrigerated overnight. And so we're just going to get this poured into a big stock pot. You do not want to put it in anything that is aluminum because it contains acid. So you don't want to do that. So I've got my 2 gallons in my stock pot. We're going to put it on my stove, and we're going to get this cooked down to half. So I should have approximately 1 gallon of juice or tomato sauce when I'm finished. You bring this to a boil on high heat, and then you reduce the heat to a medium heat, and you want to continue to stir this occasionally just to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of your pan until it reduces down to at least 1/3 to 1/2, and it has already reduced down about 1 inch in my pot. So we're going to keep watching this, and then we'll get this canned. All right, I've got my sauce condensed, and I'm going to get my jars filled, but of course I'm going to put in citric acid and salt into each jar. So it's a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid. Oh, that's pretty important. Pull the right jar. 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid per jar. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt per pint. My jars are hot, my canner's hot, my liquid's hot, and everything's going to go into the jars to a 1-inch headspace. I don't need to debubble because it's liquid, but I do want to measure to make sure that I'm at the 1 inch headspace. And I am. So now I'm going to wipe the rims of my jars with some vinegar, and I'm going to apply my lids. I'm going to do 1 jar at a time, and I've got my lids sitting in warm water to kind of soften that gasket up a little bit. And we're going to finger tight. So 3 fingers, and that's it. And then I'm going to drop it into my canner as I go. Once this comes to a boil, we will process these for 35 minutes. It's important to remember to do the 5 minutes at the end so that you don't have siphoning on these lids. Let me get this top out of the way. We have fresh canned tomato sauce, y'all. I'm going to be canning a few more cans off camera to finish out my batch. And this will be nice to have on my pantry shelf. Do I think it's worth doing a day and a half? Yes, I do. Because I know exactly what is in my product. It has no artificial preservatives or anything. And these lids should start popping here in a moment. I will test to make sure that they are finger tight. I don't want them to be over tight, but I want them to be finger tight. I don't back them off if they're already tight, but if they're loose, I will tighten them just a tad. Although it's probably not necessary for me to do that. It's just out of habit. Let me grab a washcloth. And we're just going to double check. So the jars are really, really hot, so you want to have a pot holder on the bottom. And just check. I think these are going to be fine. I don't have any of them turning. Yeah, they're not turning. So these ought to be fine. They should start popping here in a minute or pinging. And we will have 9 pints of tomato sauce on our pantry shelf for long-term storage. Thank you, my friends, for watching. This was hashtag freezer cleanout 24 and hashtag home canning 24. Be blessed, everybody.